Welcome to the Millennial Mustard Seed Podcast.
Yo, what's up? It's the Marine rapper, aka Raymond Lott, and I just want to welcome you all to the Millennial Mustard Seed Podcast. And we're just so thankful to have you today to talk about ministry, music, and the military.
Love it. There's the title, Ministry, Music, and the Military. It's funny because we're M3 over here, Millennial Mustard Seed Ministry. And Millennial Mustard Seed Music.
How could you not, speaking of M's, how could you not believe in miracles? You know what I mean? It just happens. It is.
Great way to kick it off. Listen, man, it's an honor to have you here.
Yes, amen.
You've done some amazing things for the kingdom, for the bride, right? You're going to share your story with us, and I'm excited to hear everywhere that your testimony and the Spirit's going to lead us in this conversation. Before we do that, let's do a proper introduction. Give us like a 30,000 foot view. I want to hear about your bio, things that you've done where a lot of my listeners may actually be familiar with you. Yeah. Let's start off there.
So how long do I got?
As long as you need.
Okay. So just bio starting from the beginning. From conception or military. I have so many, feel like I live so many lives.
Where do you attend kindergarten? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Just in general, right?
Tell us about obviously what you're doing right now with the music, right?
Okay, let's start at the music.
Your service, right? And profession, just anything that you think is a good template for people to try to, who might be hearing you for the first time.
Amen. So basically let me start at the military, because the military influences the music and influences the music fellowship that we have every Friday on, the Feedback Friday and stuff. So I'll start there. So I served for 10 years in the United States Marine Corps as a combat correspondent, a war journalist. So I was out there with infantry covering stories on combat operations, whether it was mounted, whether it was on foot. And I would be out there writing stories on these brave heroes and just sending them back home. So whether we were in a Humvee, whether we were on foot, whether we were in helos and stuff like that, that was my job. I was supposed to take pictures and document everything. So that's what I did. That was my job. So I've always been a storyteller of sorts. I just been changing mediums over my whole life. So when I was in elementary school, I was an artist and I wanted to be a cartoonist. When I went into high school, I still wanted to be kind of like an illustrator. And then when I got in the Marines, I was a storyteller with the pen. So I always told stories there. And then I started to get into music and rap. And when I did, I would write my journalism articles and I would make them rhyme unbeknownst to a lot of individuals that were reading them, because I just love hip hop so much. And then so I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps. I went over to Iraq, Afghanistan, Morocco. I've been to Latvia. I've been to Europe. I've been to Germany. I've been to Ireland. I've been to a whole bunch of different places all around the globe, Hawaii on off time and things like that. And I was able to get a lot of different experiences, whether it may be just dealing with everyday people and learning to get different perspectives from different humans around the earth, as well as just having respect for their culture and their religion. Like when I was over in Iraq and Afghanistan, we had to respect the religion that they had over there, their prayer over in the mosque and stuff like that. And then, we were respected as well because we had a chaplain with us. So we got to have the opportunity to worship in that way. We had these little pocket Bibles that would fit inside of our camouflage uniform. So we'd have a pocket Bible. And so that was a great thing because we're able to continue our faith. And there's a saying out there. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying. Have you heard the saying, there are no atheists in foxholes? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
So it means most people, most warriors, most people, when they're in danger, everybody's saying, please, dear God, take me. If you want to see believers,
with
go
the
over.
Father.
Amen. If you want to see a true believer, go look in a foxhole overseas while there's bombs going off. Everybody believes. They're saying, dear God, everybody. So, no matter what, how they say every knee will bow. Absolutely. You see it overseas all the time. We're praying every single time before a 14-hour patrol, before any type of engagement, all that type of stuff. You pray to whoever your God is. There was different denominations, different faiths overseas. There's Muslims and there's Christians and Jewish and all that. but everybody was praying. So I got to see that. I got to tell a whole bunch of good stories about some good warriors. I'll get into that. But after I came back from overseas, I had a great appreciation for America and all the freedoms we have here. And one of the biggest freedom was freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And because of those two freedoms, I was able to express myself verbally as well as in my faith as well. So it was a beautiful thing. A lot of people don't even get to do that, you know. We don't get to we don't get to, if we are overseas, we don't get to do that, but here we get to do that. So when people go, oh, you're so patriotic, you know, how could you be patriotic, and where does that align with faith? It aligns perfectly. You know, so if you see why I'm so pro America, so patriotic, it's because we have these freedoms here that we don't have overseas. And you know, people might attach it to a certain politician or a president and stuff like that. I served over 2 different presidents, and I served under Democratic and Republican, so it had nothing to do with that. It was just the fact that we had those freedoms and we're allowed these privileges that we have today. And so like when I came back, oh man, I was just like, I just wanted to express my patriotism and my love for faith in my music, as well as use what I learned in storytelling, being a journalist overseas, and put it all together. And then so after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to music school in LA, and I learned how to be a producer, and I learned the music business side so I could do my music independently. And then so I just mixed all the stuff that I learned as well as my love for rock and hip hop music, and I put it all together, and then I was able to express myself in that way. It hasn't been like the cleanest, prettiest walk at all. Obviously, we all have our testimonies. Like, I don't drink anymore. Like I don't cuss anymore. I don't do a whole bunch of things because of God. He took all that away to make me a new person. But you know, earlier in my career, that was just a part of the culture, because in the military, it's a whole bunch of drinking, a whole bunch of swearing. You know, it's a very intense lifestyle. But I was able to kind of get rid of those things so my mind would be more sober and I'd be able to focus, and then also properly do the calling that I have now, which is helping up and coming Christian artists and clean artists. You know, we've had artists that aren't Christian and they're still, you know, early in their walk.
Yeah.
Just kind of cultivate their career and kind of like critique them and give them feedback, and build this music ministry that we have called Save America Music Feedback Friday. And we support them in any way. You know, if we're talking about Christian music, you know, we say, hey, is it scripturally correct? You know what I mean? Do you have scripture in there? You know, where is it coming from? Because there's a lot of people who just throw out scripture out there, and their music really doesn't have the substance. And we're like, hey, we're not hard on them. We're just like, hey, you know, you might want to dig into this and look into the scripture and see what it really means, and let's not twist it and stuff like that, because we're all human, you know. So hey, let's all dig in the book together. Let's all pray together and do that type of thing. And then if it's just a new artist who's just like, hey, I just do clean music and I found this platform and I want to critique, and we, you know, we were gracious to those individuals, and because of that, a lot of those individuals have been curious about, you know, being more involved in the faith. So we don't discriminate when it comes to individuals who want feedback and stuff like that, because just because we are like a Christian faith-based, more like pro-America platform, we still invite everybody in, just how, you know, the church, we invite everybody in just so, hey, look, this is how we do it over here, because you never know who you may impact.
Let me say something real quick. I want to highlight something of so much importance, right? I talk about intermittently on this show, demonstrating, right? Like it says in, I think, First Peter, it's like, look, show yourself, right? When we're delegating, when we're doing business, when we're doing any form, when we're conducting in the public square, right? We're not, oh, holier than thou. No, just here's the whole of the law. Fear God and do good, right? And it's like, so when you're demonstrating that through, you know, specifically Save American Music, which is where, you know, I've interacted with you once before. You guys are very professional, very, your gentleness is made known, but you guys are also like to the point. Like you're going to tell somebody like, hey, this is not it. Anyway, I want you to keep going because I love the thread that you're on, but I wanted to highlight the importance, because right now we see an influx of, you know, Christian influencers. All of a sudden, everybody wants to be a Christian now. 5 years ago, it was not cool. And so but how are you dealing with your brethren, right? Are you, there's a sheep and goat decision that comes at the end of the age where the Lord's like, hey, when you've done it unto the least of these, you did it unto me. And so when people are conducting from a pure standpoint in the public square, that's where the world is going to see Jesus for the first time, not because
Amen.
we're beating him with the Bible, but because of
Yeah.
how maybe you respected him, how you gave him the time of day, how you gave him grace. So please continue
Yeah.
from there. I just want to highlight that's so important.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then I mean, that's all God, man. Like a lot of times me and Crucive on the show, we say that we're like, hey, this is not even not even us. It's God for sure. This wasn't something that we're like, oh yeah, let's do this. This is going to be our calling, because a lot of people who started music, they start because they want to, be famous and get their songs on the charts and sell records and things like that. That's, if we're just being frank and honest, that's what we want to do. When you start music, you want to get it going. Like most artists do that. If you don't start in the Christian space, you want to be on the charts. You want to get played on the radio. I mean, that only makes sense. You don't make a song because you don't want it heard. You know what I mean? You want the song heard. So that's our goal. But also, there's a time for everything. That's why one of my favorite scriptures is Ecclesiastes 3. There's a time for everything. There's a time to be firm, and there's a time to be gentle, and like how you said. So we go, oh, wait a minute. This brother or this sister right here may not have no idea about the gospel or scriptures and things like that, but they're curious, or you could see, a little bit of yourself in them. So this may be the time to kind of like be more, of a gentle type leader, still firm. We don't sugarcoat it, as you know. We'll be like, hey, you need to work on this or whatever like that, but we're not going to be a jerk about it. Like, you know what I mean? Because that may be the first.
You guys gave me a 4 out of 5. I was like, my God, they're honest and true.
Yeah. We're not going to sugarcoat it, because the reason why is because when it's a 5, I want you to feel that 5. Like, wow, I earned that. It's
my wife. Listen, my wife isn't from America, right? And she says this all the time. She's like, you got to take the compliment with the rebuke, right? If you're just looking for people to tell you you're doing a good job all the time, you're faking it. You want to look for people that are actually going to give you a standard. And so, Save America Music, and like talk a little bit about that. How did that get founded, and what exactly is the vision there? I mean, I know you talked about musicians coming through, helping people get critiqued, helping them get connected, and to see them maybe fall into the space that they're called to, but help me understand even what Save America Music, where did it originate, and what is the goal?
So Save America Music started out very simply, because Jessica, she's the one who started like an Instagram page called Save America Music. And she started that Instagram page because she wanted to just share artists who were very patriotic and who loved the Lord. So those were her two interests. So she was just sharing that. And that was around, election time, 2019, 2020 and all that type of stuff. And she knew these artists that were independent that she wanted to give some shine, as a hobby. Then me being a leader, being Marine Corps, I was just like, yo, like, I know you can take this further. So let me be the CEO. I'll overhaul it. So now Save America, it has an entendre because it's like saved America. So we're trying to save America at the same time, as well as be, proud of our country at the same time. So it's a double entendre now. So that's why you see us. It's mainly faith-based, but it's also patriotic, people who love their country and stuff like that. But it's not limited to either or. You can be either or. We're not judging nobody. I mean, we've had artists that made like secular music, if it was like cleaner or whatever, and they just love the experience, and now they can go back to their counterparts and be like, oh wow, I was treated well. So Save America Music was started by Jessica, but then I took it over to create a sort of music ministry to help these artists be better and get free advice, and it became a calling for me and Crucive, who's a music producer. As well.
And so Crucive is the co-host with you on Save America Music, right?
Crucive is the co-host, so we're both co-hosts. So it's me, the Marine rapper, and Crucive Beats, who does the Save America Music Feedback Friday. And what we do there is we give artists feedback, we rate them 1 to 5, and we also do a song of the night and performance of the night to show people that we do really listen and we do care, and we give them advice based on creativity, ingenuity and all that, but we also do it on the technical standpoint. That's what we have. So I'm more on the creative side about because I have charted on Billboard and things like that with all types of music. I've even charted on the Christian charts most recently on number 15, which I was so glad about.
What song was that?
It was a song memorializing Charlie Kirk, but it was in a way of like kind of the humanity, because I felt like it didn't matter if you kind of knew Charlie Kirk or not, but it was just like, wow, our generation of kids are seeing something so brutal on the internet, and we need to stop, take a breath, and say, hey, we're all humans here. Nobody deserves to die over a political position, whether left, right, center, whatever. So I made a song memorializing that called Turning Point. Just voicing my opinion and my frustrations with, you know, America, and that we all need to come together because this is a great place. And then that ended up getting 15 on the Billboard charts for Christian. And I was just so glad, because that is what he wanted to be known for, is like a father and a Christian first, before even all the politics. He would tell you, he was like, I don't really align with anybody politically, but if I was going to align with somebody, it's going to be conservative, because I'm, you know, Christians are conservative, like in the nature of being married, kids, all having a, you know, following God, all that type of stuff. And the some of the, you know, it kind of aligns right there. So it was a sad moment. So I wanted to voice my opinion on that. So I ended up charting there, but I'm not saying it to brag on myself, but I'm saying it to where I know what it takes to chart and get your song up there on the Christian charts. So I was like, hey, let me not be selfish and let me share some of this free game with people. And so that's where Feedback Friday comes in, and me and Crucive do that for the people, and we use it as a calling, and we do it for free. We don't charge people for reviews or anything like that, because we want to give back. If you want to, you know, we make money on other stuff, beats and collabs and all that type of stuff, so we don't need the money there, but we just want to give back and do the Lord's work, and that, and let the Lord use us as vessels to kind of like steer people in proper directions. And like a lot of times we'll be like, hey, we may not be the best person for that, but Rod might be, so go see Rod. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, when we give critiques, we're like, wait a minute, you need to link up with such and such. Oh, you need, this guy makes beats. You know, we also play,
getting people connected in the right. Exactly. Yeah, it's like being like the middle roads almost, and in the know almost, which is so great alone, because people
are alone.
Yes.
You know, and they're hopeless sometimes, and they don't know where to go. Yes. And you could be like, oh yeah, just, you know, look in the book and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, who am I going to look in the book with? Who's going to hold me accountable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
it's the opposite of the gatekeeping.
Exactly.
You know, the ritualistic gatekeeping stuff that we see the world do, the spirit that's in the world, which is like, be quiet. On the secular side, yes. Which is like, be quiet. Your gift doesn't matter. You're just a consumer. Just nod your head and agree. Don't ask any questions, right? Like, this is the spirit that's in the world, trying to intimidate people and not get them resources. Kingdom mindset is like, I see you. What you're doing is important. Like, you're a son of God. And so like, when we start to see that being demonstrated, I'm excited to see this pop up in more places. Like, I really believe in what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
So
I don't know if you saw, there's been different types of individuals who came by, you know what I mean? Like the different types of music. There's people who do.
So it's not exclusively hip hop or Christian hip hop, for example. You guys are getting rock and roll. You're getting country.
Oh yeah, we've even got.
Okay,
we've got
you get a little bit of everything.
We've got country Christian music. We've got metal Christian music. I'm telling you, one of the guys does kind of like prison ministry. I don't know if Landy was on when you were on, but he does Christian hip hop. But they go into the prisons and they minister to these men who are on death row or have, you know, football numbers. So it's, you know what I mean? Like when he's like, thank you for debuting this song. I'm going to take this song into the prisons this weekend, in the Florida prisons. And because somebody gave me a chance and he was able to get paroled and get out of jail and stuff like that. And it happened through music. And now he's sharing that music with somebody else. And he thought we were so important that he wanted to debut it on our show. You get what I'm saying? Like, things like that.
The ripple effect. Yeah, yes. I call it the ripple effect. So I've watched a couple feedback. I want to say 3 in total feedback Fridays, right? Because BHB, my listeners know, last year we played Not of This World as the anthem at the end of every episode for all last year. So we're switching up the music this year, but my audience is very familiar. He's actually been on the podcast before too. And he got me connected with the show. And that's where I made the connection. Remember when I was telling you, I seen you doing like political music like a year or two ago. And I'm like, yo, this guy is fire. Like this is great. Because I'm usually in a lane where
Yeah.
my lane, my creativity is typically discovering other people and then giving them airtime so that more people find them, right?
Yeah.
And then writing books and then doing ministry and doing, we do all types of stuff and raising a family and running a business, right? And so I'm not like super familiar with who's who in the spaces unless I'm reading their book or looking over their bio. So when BHB said, yo, I'm getting reviewed on this show, come check it out, I think you're really going to like this guy, I sat and was like, yo, that's the cat that I seen doing the music. And I'm like, I like him. Like, I want to talk with him. And so praise God that I actually get to, have this conversation with him.
That's beautiful.
And for the audience sake,
send my love to BHB. I know you talk to him all the time. So.
Yeah. He's, man,
and it's a
he
pleasure.
called me
every
like
time we
3
get him
times
on there.
today. I don't actually want to hear his name again today. That's enough in 24 hours. So I do want to talk about, your time in the military.
Yeah.
We talked about faith.
Yeah.
And how that carries us through, and the uncertainties of life. And I know that you're a warrior, right? You're a poet, you're a warrior, man. And I can relate to the poet part, but I really want to hear these stories about how God carried you through in some of these darker places and dangerous places. So I don't want to rush into it. If there's any loose ends, tie them up with the previous part of the conversation. But let's kind of start then to walk into maybe you laying a foundation. How old were you? You said you were in the Marine Corps for 10 years. Let's just however you want to open that thing up.
Yeah, no. So when I joined the Marine Corps late. I joined it at 20. Because I went to college first for 2 years and I did drafting because I was like into art and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, let me go for drafting because it seems like the same and maybe I could, be like some type of engineer or something. And so, but like I did that for 2 years, but I was still working at Taco Bell as a rapper, like wrapping up tacos. I worked at Taco Bell as a rapper. And so like I couldn't get a job because they're like, oh,
Little
you're
did you
overqualified.
know.
and it's ironic that I was a rapper at Taco Bell and rapping with shells, and then now I'm literally rapping about shells, So it was just like a crazy situation. And then a recruiter like found me or whatever and was like, yo, have you ever thought about the military, the Marine Corps? And I'm like, not really, like a little bit, but not seriously or whatever. And it was a female recruiter. She's like, you need to think about it and all that. And it's important that it's a female recruiter because it's going to come around in a second. She's like, oh, well, I need to think about it. And she's like, yo, what's holding you up? And she couldn't, crack me because she was just like, yo, like, I don't see what the issue is. Like, it's not money. It's not this, not that. I was like, yo, I need some stability. I don't think my life is going anywhere. And then also I was afraid to die. So I had to come to grips with that. And I didn't tell her that just yet, but that was my whole thing. Am I willing to die for a cause right after 9/11? Am I willing to die for America right after 9/11? And then after I got over that, and I don't think I was that like, I've always been out around the church, but I don't think I was like the strongest and had like a brotherhood around me or anything like that in the church. So I kind of was just like on my own in my college years and stuff like that. So it was just like I felt like alone. I had to come to grips with myself. Am I willing to die for America? And then I said, okay, yes. I said, but do you have a job in entertainment? Because I just started to get into hip hop music. I got into hip hop music at age 18, very late. I grew up skateboarding and all that type of stuff. So I was always into like metal and grunge and Nirvana and all that type of stuff. But one of my mom's friends saw me skateboarding and was like, yo, like, have you ever thought about like hip hop music? And then she put me on hip hop music. Ever since then, I've been hooked on that. And then I went into just different iterations of it, whether it was like secular to the Christian hip hop music. And then so since I was into hip hop music, when the recruiter contacted me, I was like, yo, do you got anything in entertainment as a job in the Marines? She's like, entertainment? She's like, what? She's like, go home and come back another day or whatever. She's like, well, there was a guy that was in the Marine Corps. His name's Shaggy. He did music afterwards. So like, but I do got a job. Did you know Shaggy was in the Marine Corps? Yeah, Shaggy is like Shaggy.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. He was in the Marine Corps.
I mean, we're a millennial. You're a millennial too, I'm guessing,
yeah,
right?
I am. Yeah,
okay.
We're the same age.
Yeah.
So he was like, she was like, yo, like Shaggy was in, so you can You can do this job called public affairs. Public affairs will get you, you could be on the radio. You could be kind of like doing like a video broadcast, kind of like Robin Williams and like Good Morning Vietnam, like that movie. She's like, you could be like a broadcaster, right? So I swore I was
Yeah,
going
that's
to do
dope.
something
Yeah.
like that. She's
Yeah.
like, oh, be in the studio. And then later on you could work it out, that type of stuff. I was like, all right. And then so I joined. And when I joined out of Oceanside, California. Oceanside, California is right by Camp Pendleton, the Marine Corps base. This is very important. And so I joined the Marine Corps. I went through boot camp. I ended up going to school in Baltimore, Maryland. It's called Fort George G. Meade. I went to school in Baltimore, and I went to school there. I flunked the radio test because I mispronounced the word ask. I'll never do it again. But black folks, we say axe. So when they said say the script, I said, can I ask you a question? You know
The
what I
Book
mean?
of Acts.
Exactly, the Book of Acts. You know how we say axe, or people in the street, people in the hood, we say axe, because it's not specifically black folks, but you know what I mean. People in the hood,
Yeah,
black folks.
it's like a general kind of cadence
Axe.
almost
Say axe.
between. Yeah.
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 And then, but I'll never mispronounce that ever again. Even in my music these days, I'll even say ask. Because just as like a little jab, whatever. But anyways, I failed the radio test. After I failed the radio test, they're like, oh, it's all good. You're still a journalist. We're going to send you to 1st Marine Division. And they're like, I was like, 1st, that sounds good. But 1st Marine Division is in Camp Pendleton where I grew up. I grew up just outside the Marine Corps base. And so they send me back to 1st Marine Division. 1st Marine Division was my mom's worst nightmare because 1st Marine Division is infantry. So they sent me back home to be a journalist with an infantry battalion, and then I would be going to Iraq a little bit later.
Like boots on the ground, serious
correct.
boots on the ground.
I went to Iraq. I was in the truck right behind another truck. The front truck got hit by an ID that blew up. The guys inside, they ended up being okay. They got pulled out in a medevac. A medevac is where a helicopter comes down, picks up those wounded people, and fly away. That helicopter was called the Purple Foxes. The Purple Foxes had the husband of my recruiter in it. So they took and they saved my guys on one mission. I got back from Iraq. I heard that the Purple Foxes helicopter went down and her husband got killed. When her husband got killed, I was already home back in Camp Pendleton, and she was like, hey, can you write a story on my husband? So she made me a journalist, and I ended up writing a memorial story on her husband. Like, crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so like, after you like be overseas and then you come back to the United States of America and you see the difference in cultures and stuff like that, especially if you're in the military, there's something in you that doesn't want to stay home. So when they go, all right, you went to Iraq, who wants to go to Afghanistan? I went, me, because I felt like there was more purpose overseas. So I went over to Afghanistan and I was able to survive that too. But the only reason I survived it is because we had interpreters. The Afghan interpreters, people who spoke the language and said, don't go there, there's a bomb there, there's this, there's this. So when we pulled out of Afghanistan, it was heartbreaking to see, I don't know if you saw the footage of the people who are clinging onto the plane trying to get out of Afghanistan. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And a lot of Americans wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for those Afghans who risked their life for us. These are
Afghan natives that were working in tandem with you guys as the U.S. Marine Corps, just willingly, just like a fiduciary, willing servant. Here I am, my God. And so their lives are definitely in risk.
And we left some of them. So when we did the pull out, it was heartbreaking because it was like it had nothing to do with they're Muslim or nationality or anything. It was just like the fact that they were willing to put all that aside, white, black, Mexican, whoever was Asian, whoever was over there, to protect us, risk their life. Because after our deployment, our year-long deployment, we go home. They have to live over there being a target of terrorists, of insurgents, because they work with us. And then so to see some of them not make it back, that was heartbreaking to me. And I was like, wow. So I take those experiences back home with a sense of gratitude to God for getting me out of those situations. And I'm grateful for the interpreters that were sent over here and stuff like that. But that's the type of environment I come from. There's been plenty of times miracles happened overseas. There was a time where, and it's crazy because in America they tried to, not everybody, but some Americans try to push this racism thing, which is crazy because, look at me, I'm black, you're white. Um, and oh, we hate each other and all that type of stuff. But when I go to a store, when I go out in the public, it don't matter. We're like, yo, what's up? How you doing? I'm good, thank you, bro. But
you don't
on
really
TV,
see it. It's like
yeah,
some
I'm like, where is it?
imaginary mind manipulation or like new age fifth generational warfare tactic for segregation or something, like, or who knows what. I mean, I think that there's a much deeper, darker meaning to that kind of hate your neighbor thing, because like that's the gospel. Like even what you were just talking about with the Afghans, like that reminds me so much of the gospel, like looking out for your neighbor, love your neighbor. Like I wrote a poem, it's like talking about watching the back door of your neighbor, right? And it's this idea of this lost transfer of substance that God wants us to have for each other as sons and daughters of God. Is like, actually, like, do I care? Am I willing to, and I wrote this, maybe this will resonate with you. It's like, trust is built when you're in danger and I get closer to you rather than running away. Right? Because like my kids were asking me like, oh, like how do you learn to trust somebody? And I'm like, oh, good question. Oh, let me write on that. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, well, when somebody gets closer to you when you're in danger.
Wow.
So they're moving in a way where it's like, I see you. I can be a covering for you, right? I can lean in. I can lock arms with you on this one. That's how trust is built. Not because of the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth. Because people say, oh man, you're doing great. Oh, I'm there for you. I got you. Do you need something? But actions, my God, actions
speak louder than words. It's crazy because what you just said, and that's why I believe in, God's timing and everything, because what you just said, we have a saying in the military, run to the sound of gunfire. So we have a saying that we go to the danger because we have our brothers back. That's why I don't know.
No man left behind is that also
no man left. That's a saying. That's a saying too. It's just like the sentiment of like no one can get between me and my brothers. Like if somebody say, if I see somebody with the Marine Corps hat, I go, what's up? And we don't have to. I know that guy. Yeah. I know that guy. I know if something went down in this store or whatever, he's gonna have my back. We don't have to say nothing. It's like a brotherhood too, another brotherhood within a brotherhood.
And so, wouldn't Christianity, like, so biblically, there's a lot of military terms that are used biblically.
Yep.
This is a big deal. And so maybe this is something we can walk into also. I want you to finish the stories, but you're stirring me up. Okay, Marine rapper. You're getting me going, which is, hopefully I don't take us down too many rabbit trails or rant too much myself.
I love it.
I want to bring it back to you, but the stuff that you're saying, there's so many people out there that what you're going to and already have delivered tonight, I couldn't bring that to the table for them. Like there's people that only you can reach, and through the stories that you have and through the encouragement that you have, I just might be a bridge in this moment. And so, biblically, I love that camaraderie. Like you're saying, if I see a Marine guy, he's got a hat on, which by the way, my son Riley, my twins just turned 18 in January.
Oh, wow.
I had him young. I think I was 18 when we had him. But he said, Dad, I'm going to be a Marine. I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And I'm like, I love you, man. Like, like you don't need approval from me. You're a grown man now, but like, I also want to, anyway, that's neither here nor there. I also want to talk with him. Like, yo, this could be dangerous, right?
It's serious.
But, that the love that you guys have, right? And not even just love, like, because when we use that word, it's Philadelphia's, right? It's brotherly love. When we look at it, Philadelphia, which is, I grew up right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where we're at, southeastern Pennsylvania. And I think about that term and I'm like, you just said something that hit me, right in the solar plexus when you're said it, man. I'm like, I want that kind of love with the brethren in Christ, where
Amen.
you're like, if I'm in a store and I see another guy with a Marine Corps hat on, I'm like, yo, like if somebody runs in here and it pops off, we good. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna look up. As Christians, we should have that.
Have the same, like, I see, you know.
Yes.
That's why.
Maybe
that's
back
why
in the day they used to do the half of the fish thing in the sand, and it would be like that. Silent
that,
community,
and then
right.
You know, where you,
but they were under heavy persecution too. But I mean, now we're living in America, buddy. Like, you know, my wife has been here 12 years. She loves this country. She just became an American citizen a year and a half ago. Like, she's head over heels for America because of growing up in poverty overseas and seeing the light that we are called to be as this country, of freedoms, with liberty, with justice, boldness, right? And the gospel, more importantly than anything else.
I'm glad you have that firsthand experience, because a lot of people don't have that firsthand experience. You know, your wife has that firsthand experience, and you just can't really understand it unless you've been there. Like, when people are poor overseas, they're poor. Like, I've had people, like, when I was, you know, there's been homeless people to reject when I gave them food or water or stuff. They're like, no, I want money because I want to go get drunk or whatever. And I was just like, wow, how ungrateful, because I've seen people overseas, when they say I'm hungry, you give them a little bit of food, they scarf it down right there because they're literally hungry. If they say they're
money
homeless,
overseas, they're buying eggs, like they're buying groceries,
yes,
like they're feeding a whole entire John with $10.
Exactly, and they cook. And you know what's so crazy? I don't know if you know that the birthplace of the Marine Corps is in PA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where? What?
Ton
where?
Tavern. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was born. Yeah, we were born in a bar, so that there's the whole tradition of drinking and all that type of stuff. But it wasn't just the whole bar thing. It was like a meeting place, because that was the only meeting place. It was the old bar, so we all went there.
Yeah, exactly.
A tavern. We went to the tavern. Hey, what's going on? Hey, man, somebody's, you know, they're getting bullied over here, so we need some people to come together. And ever since, the Marine Corps has been the nation's 911. So that's why when you see something pop off, they go first. That's, you know, we have a saying called first to fight. But like, yeah, I don't understand the separation within the Christian community a lot of times. Like, I just dropped a song called Holy War 4 in support of the Christians getting slaughtered in Nigeria.
Oh my God, come on, yes.
And so everybody should be locking arms on that one. You feel me? Like, they're like, what? But because things have been politicized so much, they don't want to say nothing. I'm like, yo, they're killing Christians over there.
And we've been systematically desensitized because they're pushing Ukraine, they're pushing Israel, Palestine. Listen, I got love for those people. I just did an episode called not being anti-Semitic, not having Jew hatred. But listen, any country who's doing wrong needs to be held accountable to the standard of doing wrong. There's no favoritism here. Nobody gets a pass. I don't care if you're Israel. I don't care if you're America. It doesn't matter. Nobody should get a pass. But why is it that when we have Christian persecution to a level that we cannot experience here in the flesh in this country, it falls on silent ears? Nobody has nothing to say. So I'm a big advocate.
I say that in
my God,
the
come
song.
On,
I say it in the song. How can Don Lemon walk into a Christian church?
Exactly.
You can't do that in a mosque. You can't do that in a mosque. You can't do that in a synagogue. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side. You cannot do that. You literally you die. Like, you can't disrespect that. So why are Christians not treated with the same amount of respect? Why aren't Christians willing to die for that? Because all the other denominations absolutely are. They will die about it.
Exactly.
So why? So I don't understand. So my music talks about that too. In Holy War 4, I talk about that. I'm like, I name all the denominations. It starts out with naming those denominations. I'll say, you can do this, and this, but you can never do it to these denominations. Why is that? Because the people are willing to die for that, and you will not disrespect them. Like, we had to respect. We couldn't patrol in certain areas. We couldn't maneuver around the mosque in certain times because we had to respect that. When they had the call for prayer, we had to respect that. That's why a lot of times we would end up getting in firefights and stuff, because a lot of the insurgents, they would run into the mosque, and we had to respect that much. So why is it that Christians aren't willing to die about it? You know what I'm saying?
And so do you think that we're kind of almost like seeing the rebirth of that, like masculinity or men, because I don't know how much you get down into the rabbit trail, but on this show, like we've had like prolific doctors on, we've had Katie Talinto, previous White House health advisor under Trump, coming on speaking, which is funny because, we're 7 years out from COVID, right? And during COVID, me and my house, we didn't take the jab. I felt something was off about it, right? And now you're seeing a lot of the people that were called crazy or conspiracy theorists for being like, yo, don't put nanoparticulates in your body. Now all of a sudden,
Exactly.
the very people that were on the front row saying, yo, take it, advocating for it, are literally coming out saying, I'm a naturopath now, I'm a holistic practitioner, I don't believe in this anymore. Like, it's literally happened on this podcast, along with plenty of other people. So the warfare against...
I lost family members. I lost my my great aunt, my grandma, my aunt. I never took it. A lot of I actually have a song called Shots. I love the position that I'm in, because I had Marines come to me off to the side who wanted to be anonymous. They're like, listen, can you do something? Can you say something? So I made
be a voice,
we made a song called Shots, and we were talking about be a voice.
I never heard that. Oh,
and
my
now,
God. Come on.
Those individuals who got kicked out of the military for not taking the shot are invited back to the Marines because they're like, yo, we messed up. So I do not discriminate when it comes to making my music. Like, I've called out the government. I've been
Bro, I love
patriotic, but I've also called out the government. I've been both sides. But when
I love it.
But when I'm pro-American, it seems like it's such a big deal. And I'm like, why can't I love this country? I know what happened to black people in the past. I know I'm not oblivious to what happened, but at the same time, I know we have it really good, and we have it way better than a lot of nations around the world, because I've been around the world. Like how you said, your wife knows this, and you have family members that know this. So if you've been around the world, you know we have it really good. If people are trying to fight natural disasters, jump over fences and barbed wire just to get here, what do you think? It's super bad overseas. That's why people are trying to break in here. Are we trying to break into Afghanistan? No. Why not? Because we have it better here. So it blows my mind that people don't accept it.
The only time we try to go there is to try to get something, right?
Exactly. Oil or resources and things like
Gilgamesh,
that. And,
the remains of, one of the giant Nephilim guys or something.
Exactly. So like when there's things that we have to get and stuff like that, but like, I just don't understand it. And so like, I just know I'm gonna just be me, because I know if I just follow what the Lord is telling me to say, and I follow my gut and everything, and I know I'm doing the right thing, it's going to play out just how like the shot thing, the COVID shot turned out. It turned out perfectly and well, and now the Marines are invited back to join the military again because they did wrong.
So
because they said, hey, listen, because they had the religious exemption. A lot of my guys, they had a religious exemption.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, my religion doesn't allow me to put all this stuff in my body. But they didn't get it respected, but now they're respecting it. It's just a weird thing. And I just feel like there needs to be more Christians. It is. There has to be a lot more. It's a conversation in itself, but there needs to be a lot more Christians that are bigger and bolder and stand on it and ready to die about it, and then the ones that are ready to die about it, they shun us. So they say, oh, I'm a sellout. They call me a sellout. So they try to push me to the side, and they don't want to listen to me. I've had so many elders and stuff, and older men and stuff like that. They're like, you know what? They're going to push you to the side because, especially America, they don't like a educated black man. They don't like somebody who goes against the grain. I mean, it could be anybody. It could be black, white, whoever. But if you're going against the grain and going against something, they do not like it. They're like, no, you're supposed to be dependent on the government. You're supposed to be dependent on us. You're supposed to be, you think it's an accident? You're in PA, right? It's not an accident. Planned Parenthood, chicken, liquor stores in the neighborhood. That's by design, bro. That's by design. PA. They have all the shops and stuff on purpose. They want us to kill ourselves. They want us to kill our babies. They want us to kill ourselves with liquor, or they want us to be dependent on the government. That's what they want,
bro.
And if you go against the grain, exactly.
Like so even the liners, like this is my kombucha, right? And these, it's just okay,
This is a little bit better. It's Celsius. It's a little bit cleaner.
Yeah,
some people may Yeah.
I got you. Okay, this is just your basic little
Yeah.
refresher
Kombucha.
probiotic
Yeah.
kombucha, right? They most of the time, and it is so difficult even to be mindful because the warfare that we're up against, everything that you just said, plus the provable, like the BPAs that they're putting, the plastic liners, it literally lowers testosterone in males. I was on a symposium with like 5 other researchers like 3 or 4 years ago. We did this like 4.5 hour symposium that was broadcast all around the country, bringing forward, just reading documents and doing commentary on this systematic attack against the household, the individual. And
Masculinity.
this is non-biased. I mean, they're attacking no matter what religion or color you are, you're being attacked. So like, who's they? That's like the question that we've asked.
Well,
I've asked guys
elites.
like Gary Wayne that. Bloodlines, right? So the Bible talks about them obviously from the perspective of these upper echelons, right? Or these lowercase g gods, the lowercase Elohim, that principalities, powers, rulers, dominions, as most people would know them, archons, that we wrestle against, right? And they have walk-ins. They have humans that are working in tandem with them for what I call the Nephilim agenda, right? I think everything that we're experiencing that is dark is a byproduct of the Nephilim agenda. All right, I'm talking too much. So
No, you're good.
they're literally trying to kill us from every perspective. Like it's just beyond even. We don't have the amount of time to even compartmentalize it here and right now. Talk about a little bit of these faith stories about how God really opened up your eyes for a deeper relationship and to lean into who you started to learn he was, right? Because you grew up going to church. That's cool. Experience. And like you were saying in the beginning of this episode, when you're praying before every time you guys go out and do a mission, and everyone's praying. This is important for us to talk about because I know I got military listeners. I know people are going to relate to what you're about to drop on us right now. Talk about
Yeah.
faith in the
There was
in
a
the
lot
fire.
of there was a lot of struggle for me because I couldn't wrap my brain around how you're going to expect me to go out and kill somebody in case something happens. But I spoke to the chaplain. He's like, there's a difference between murder and killing and protecting, So it says, thou shalt not murder if you translate it, Yeah, there's different versions. I know people can debate the different versions. I know there's people going to be like, well, in this version it says kill and whatever, but like it's he broke it down. He said, thou shalt not, and in the commandments, Deuteronomy, it says like thou shalt not murder, like you're not supposed to murder somebody, like defending someone or killing somebody because you're in self-defense and stuff like that is a little bit different situation. So like no, you don't lead
Yes,
you
you're
don't lead
so
with
right.
that.
Yeah.
You don't lead with it, but so
Yeah.
like that was a situation. I got to speak to the chaplain about that. There's another situation to where I was going out patrol after patrol, and then they were like, "Hey, you need to stay back this patrol because, rest, get a hot shower because we're out there. There's no showers and stuff, so get rest, clean up, and all that." The one patrol I didn't go on, um, was with this one guy from Texas, somebody where you think a white guy from Texas, somebody where you think that the media would say he hates me, like you know what I mean? He was cooler to me. This white guy was cooler to me than some black people have ever been cool to me. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I'm your, we're brothers. Da da da. Wait, what do you need? You need this. You need that. You want to go out with us today? Because a lot of times when I went out, I was on my own as a journalist, and so I would have to bum a ride from people. So I'd be like, hey. So his name is Michael C. Ledsum, and so Mike was like, hey, you want to go out with us today? I was like, yeah. And then I would go out and I'd cover stories, take pictures, write stories and stuff like that. And I come back and I send the stories back home. This one time I didn't go out with Mike. And that time he got killed. And he would sit on the same side I would sit on. So I'll never forget his name. And so we spoke offline about miracles and things like that. Like for a long time I had survivor's guilt on a lot of different situations. But I just was like, okay, I need to change the survivor's guilt from the military guys who are listening. I need to change survivor's guilt to survivor's purpose. Now I have a purpose. So the reason why I'm alive today because God was like, you need to tell these individual story. So I'll never forget him ever. But he was from He was from Austin. I know I know where he's from. Austin, Texas. Father, solid guy, man. and he would let me ride in his truck. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of cool stuff that I was able to do overseas and have the gratitude and have the purpose today. But I know that I'm here today. As long as I'm breathing, I'm here today to tell the story of brave men like Corporal Michael C. Leadsom from Texas, father, warrior, Marine. Um, so everybody can know that there's brave individuals who gave their life for a brother, regardless of what we look like. And so that's why I hate that narrative. Like, I don't care what you look like, what color you are, man. Like, like if I click with you, I click with you. You're like, hey man, can you be on podcast? I was like, I got you, bro. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like if we bros, we bros. You know, you're my brother in Christ. You know what I mean? And like how you said, we're brothers, so we gotta move move accordingly. And if we look, and when you look at something like that, you have more respect for that individual. You think of it different, and you're able to kind of like project it out to the world. You know what I mean? It's like this is if you go out somewhere in street clothes, they're going to treat you a certain way. But if you go out somewhere in a suit, wow, hey, what's up, sir? You know what I mean? They're going to treat you in a certain way. So if you present yourself as a certain way, they're going to treat you that way. We're always told in the Marine Corps, that's why our uniform is a big thing in the Marine Corps. That's why you always see us sharpen our uniform. It's like, you dress how you want to be treated, you know? So I feel like we need to dress how we want to be treated, whether it's wearing the armor of God, Ephesians 6:11, you know what I mean? Or otherwise, in the military wise, conduct ourselves in a military way, whatever. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but like if it wasn't for individuals like that who didn't show me that it doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from, I wouldn't have had that worldly experience that I could bring back here today to say, hey, you know, our skin color doesn't matter. We're still brothers in Christ, stuff like that. So like that was one of it sucks as a catch-22 because it's a horrible thing that happened to him of him getting killed on patrol, but also it's a great memory for me because it keeps me like grounded and like, yo, don't forget, because I prayed night after night after night, Lord, if you bring me back, I swear, I promise I'm going to go crazy in telling the story of these individuals and I won't stop. And so that's why I can remember his name, even his middle initial, because he was that important. And I cannot believe it because I'm like, bro, like, yeah, all of us Marines, we're warriors. We can shoot, we can run, we could jump, we're in shape and all that type of stuff. But I never thought I was like as tough as those guys. So it really messed with me, man. Like, it really messed with me. I'm like, yo, why did you take him? Like, you know what I mean? That was the guy. But like I said, I guess that's my purpose.
Man, there's so much like, I think of meekness as I'm listening to you. All right. The word says the meek will inherit the earth. And meek means reserved power. It doesn't mean underpowered. It means power that only God can give in position, but in a reserve, which means God appoints where the power shows its face, how it moves, how it operates. And that's what I'm getting from this is why I wanted you on. I knew something was going to click with me and you. And I'm like, he's got something for me and something for my audience. And I'm finding out what it is. There's another one just like me out there, right? I've connected with another one and the listeners are going to get it. It's a heartthrob, man, because not only are you showing humility, you're showing this reserve power, but you're also the vulnerability that you're talking about wrestling through this, like in your mind where I'm like, yo, that was the guy. Like, how come I made it? And I'm over there talking with the Lord. Like, if you let me come back, I'll tell the stories. Like, bro, I wrote songs that you probably have lived the emotion greater than I have, like secret prayers through the kinsman redeemer all through the night. Right? I mean, it sounds like you had many nights where you're praying to the Lord, kinsman redeemer coming from that Ruth and Boaz, right? Boaz is it's kind of an inside thing in Christianity. I know that you get it, but man, it's humbling and it's powerful because God clearly, you got a platform, God's given you a voice, and above and beyond that, he's given you of verbalization in a world where they want to paint you and slant you a certain way. They want to compartmentalize you and act like you have to talk this way or walk this way or because of where you're from or because of what you look like or because of what you've been through. And you're going against that norm, setting a standard for thousands, millions of people. How much more could I say? I support you and love what you're doing.
Thank you, bro.
You know, at this point, you know, let's talk a little bit about, and I want to have you back again. I feel like this is just foundation. I feel like we're just getting into like
getting started.
Who is the Marine rapper, right? Who are you really? What, like, share that part of yourself. And I think that you have stories and just other things that the body's going to need to hear about. But I want you to, you know, share some encouragement. When you're spending time with the Lord, when you're getting into the Word, what kind of things has He comforted you and showed you with? Like hindsight, you've come out of all this trauma, all this warfare, all this. Where's God talking to you now? Like, we're here in 2026. Talk to us.
You're like really getting into it, man. There's been lots of times where God was creative with me in terms of I couldn't get into the Word because I felt like it was daunting or tedious to read so many scriptures. But then He brought me in a very creative way. He was like, well, dig into the warriors. Since you relate to the warriors, dig into the warriors, you know, and their stories. And so I started in Ephesians, 6:11 and armor of God. And then, kind of like went out and learned more about like David, and then like, oh, wow, he's a musician too. And like just the whole, but, it kind of like flourished into a bigger interest in the Word. And then I was able to dig deeper in there, but I needed like a reference point of how to relate with the stories in the Bible and in the scriptures, because it just, for me, it was just hard. It was just like such a hard juxtaposition to see where somebody who's a Marine, who's been told to be masculine, a meat eater, not to have no feelings and just be tough all the time, to, like how you said, be meek and be receptive to the Word and be patient and all of that, and be loving, like how you said. And this is something that I've learned over time. This version that you're getting of me is something that I had to really work on, because there's been times where, man, dude, like I was so stressed out, like I was contemplating suicide, and then I was looking in the scriptures to see what it said about that. Like that's how bad it was. But I always was just like, yo, man, you can't give up, man. You can't let the enemy win, man. You just got to keep going, because then the enemy's still going to win. Like, I may have not been killed over in Iraq or Afghanistan, but it's kind of like what we call it in the military is like a 3,000-mile shot. Like, he still won because of the trauma from overseas. You can't let him still win, because you do have a purpose. And we were doing God's work over there. There's plenty of times where there was little girls who couldn't read, and we would do patrols, and we cordon off areas just so we can deliver school supplies to these like little girls, because a lot of them are looked at as like secondhand, third hand type of individuals overseas. They don't look at women favorably in a lot of different cultures overseas. So we are doing stuff to protect them, and we're doing a lot of God's work over there. But yeah, to kind of like answer your question, it was just like he started working on me with kind of like finding like a rally point in a reference point within the Word, and then it flourished out of there, and I was able to kind of find my way in that type of way. And then I was like, wow, now I find it interesting. You know what I mean? Looking into like Joshua and looking into the 300 soldiers and stuff, and like how they lapped up the water, and then that's how he knew who to pick, you know what I mean? And they didn't even use weapons. They just used lamps when they're surrounding the city and stuff like that. Like, just learning all those like cool, like little stories of the Bible. I know you know what I'm talking about. Just like they were very creative with
Gideon,
it.
Bro. Yeah.
When they're Gideon, when that's the story that
he had like 3,000 or 4,000, and God strips them down, right? He brings them down to like 300 or 400 guys.
Hey, he said, who wants to leave? Who wants to quit right now? And then those people left. And he said, all right, of the people who I have left, who's thirsty, go down to the water. They went down to the water, and he focused on the people who were like this, who had kept their head on a swivel. And he's like, if you didn't do that, get out of here. All right, I'm only taking this. They're like 300. And he's like, all right, I'm going to deliver this city to you. Just listen to what I got to say. With lamps? Yeah, with lamps. They're going to think it's God. And then they they got, they took, obviously, you know the story, but get with Gideon. But like looking into stories like that helped me strengthen my faith, because I was like, that's somebody like me. And I was able to see myself in them. And, especially when you look at David, you're like, wow, he struggled with a lot of different things, and he was a musician and a warrior and smaller, you know what I mean? So it was just, I was able to dig into that. So basically what I'm saying is, if there's somebody struggling with their faith or struggling to get in the word, one thing that helped me is find a reference point of somebody like you that's in the scriptures. There's lots of people that you can relate to in there. Find somebody that's like you. And then you could dig into it. And sometimes God has a different calling for you, like Miriam. Miriam wanted to do something different. So it's just kind of like, God is going to use you how he wants to use you, and just be glad in that. And it's all going to work out. But I mean, I know I kind of went around where places and stuff, but the main thing is just kind of like, just find a reference point in the word and you're going to be okay.
No, there's a reason I asked you that versus because I know, because the way that you answer it and your stance and your blunt and you just, this is who I am. This is what you get, is the vibe I get from you. So I'm asking you, how are you getting into the word? What is God doing with you? Your transparency to be like, vulnerability. I was suicidal, so I looked into that. I was looking into other crazy, climactic war stories because I could relate to it. That is so much better of an answer than I was just doing a word study on, what. Listen, the reason our culture and young men are obsessed with karate movies, with war movies, with, video games, is because there's an innate part of us that God designed within us to subdue the earth, right? I wrote a poem called The Wild One, and it talks about, how wild God is and how not safe he is, but how good he is. And so the way you answered that is what I was looking for, because you're the Marine rapper. You're the guy who went out and did stuff that most people play video games and watch movies about. And now you're standing up saying, I'm unashamed of my faith, right? This is what I relate to. Here's my transparency. And that's the reason I asked you, because I wanted to because I've had theologians on, I've had, head Jessup University guys, I've had armchair researchers, I've had everybody from the guy next door to, whatever, right? And I love getting the perspectives that rattle the cage a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, it's not always cute and it's not systematic all the time. Sometimes it really is, hey, I was dealing with suicide. I was feeling, like I'm this crazy guy who ripped his shirt and did all this stuff overseas. Exactly. Now I'm trying to find my place. Oh, let me go read about Gideon. This guy's, you're right, whatever. Or David, who's up and he's down. He's up and he's running for his life, and he's conquering a kingdom, and then he's working with the enemy, and then he's conquering the enemy. And it's like, this is the heart of mankind. If we try to act like we have it all figured out or that we have no sin, we're deceiving ourselves. Exactly. I love your answer. I absolutely love it.
It's just real to me, man. I don't know any other way to be, man. It's just real to me. And like when I realized that I just need to be more real with myself and say, hey, I don't have all the answers. There may be a theologian that may be able to quote scripture better than me, but it's also important to have the experience as well, and have that relationship with God and know yourself. Like we in the military, we have a saying called know yourself and seek self-improvement, because we all are sinners, and so it's just important to dig in there and do that. And I feel like that's the best part. How they say the journey is the best part. The best part is the journey, and going and experiencing and kind of like helping other people or getting help from other people, or, learning. That's just the best part. Like, who cares? Like if you read the Bible front and back a million times, because like how they say, The devil knows the Bible. You know what I mean? The devil knows the word, the scripture, but
Yeah, the
can
devil's
you
a theologian too.
exactly, have you, like how you said, action? Have you had action? Have you applied it? You know, are you living it? And that is the part that a lot of people are missing, and that is the part that a lot of people need to work on, you know?
Well, and so creating a space like this, I believe it's the opportunity for all the time. You know, we overcome by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb, it says in Revelation, right? That means we have a story to tell. We're working out our testimony. We're learning this with fear and trembling. You know, we're parsing through it. There has to be a landing space where the theologian can plant a seed for the young radical David, as well as the theologian can hear about the young radical David and go, it still exists. It isn't dead. Right? The worlds have to, you know, kind of, you know, and I say it kind of being a little facetious there, but people are in sub pockets of experience.
Amen.
And so there's no better way to break down those walls than to get testimonial, to get raw and gritty stories. Man, I really just want to honor you for your time. Before we kind of start to land this thing, I want you to plug in where you can be found, right? And in the details of the show notes, I'll also have some links for you guys to find exactly what the Marine Rapper is working on. Would you rather me call you Raymond at this point, or TMR?
Yeah, man.
Ray,
You can call me Ray, bro.
I might flip back and forth between the two.
It's cool. You know, I mean, people call me TMR. People say Marine Rapper. Some people say Raymond. You know, Ray. Like
Super
I
dope.
actually don't like. I don't care. I actually the only like I like when people ask me. I'm like, after people ask me, hey, what do you want to be called? Then I'm like, okay, cool. You can call me whatever.
And this is how you guys know I'm not the most professional podcaster, because I asked on air instead of doing that preliminary. Man, yeah. I love it. I love it, dude. So tell us where you can be found, and then close us out with just a word of encouragement.
Amen. So you can find me everywhere at the Marine Rapper. We were told in the military to keep it simple, stupid. So you can find me everywhere at the Marine Rapper. You can find the Feedback Friday and everything surrounding that at Save America Music and saveamericamusic.com. So if you have any type of music that you want to submit, that you want feedback on, or you just want people to listen to, you can go to saveamericamusic.com and submit your music there. We love to listen to different music from all walks of life, because you know, we all can learn something from somebody, you know what I mean? So like, you know, a rich man can learn something from a homeless man on the street. It's just how it is. So and I'm just so grateful to the Lord for giving me the opportunity to travel the world and to see that. Because if it wasn't for my military experience, I wouldn't have been able to see that and come back here and bring that to the people. And so my words of encouragement is get outside your bubble, get outside your echo chamber, do something different with somebody who looks different than you or is from a different walk of life. You know, it don't even have to be that far. I mean, you could go to your local coffee shop, store, help somebody, an old lady or something, or, you know, volunteer at Boys and Girls Club or whatever it is, but just do something different so you can get a different experience. And even if you don't like it, at least you'll come out of that experience knowing, okay, I don't like that experience, but at least I got to see how different people operate. And it's not just me in my echo chamber, in my little bubble and stuff like that. So like, just get outside your bubble and experience life and learn. And it's okay to fail and to fall and to trip, because you'll be stronger from that. And there's nothing wrong with having emotions and then coming out of that. Like, that's what I learned. I'm just like, hey, just because I'm a warrior doesn't mean that I don't have emotions as well, and it's okay to explore those emotions. It's just important to be aware of those situations and know how to control them in situations, and know when to use the sword, you know, or the soft velvet glove. You know what I mean? So like, it's being aware of those things. But that's what I would say. Just get outside your bubble, experience, learn about new people, and you're going to be all right.
It's an honor to have this part one with you. TMR, the Marine Rapper, you guys heard it. Awesome testimony, awesome part one. Matthew 13:44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and he sells all that he has to buy that field. Share this episode, you guys. Share it far and wide. For all of my military people out there, you know the deal. Pray, encourage, and let this one echo out and ripple out to bring some encouragement. Coming to you from southeastern Pennsylvania. God bless and goodbye.